Hello, everyone. Welcome. So, for those of you who don't know what this episode is going to be, I was supposed to start my new podcast, Next Man Up with MJ. I'm MJ. I was supposed to start that May 4th. However, with the NFL draft and everything that went into that, I was contacted and was able to get a lot of interviews with a bunch of undrafted free agents who have either signed with NFL teams or have not signed with NFL teams. So, with all of that, today, Wednesday, and Friday of the last week of April. Friday is May 1st, technically. I'm going to have two special episodes that are going to be designed around undrafted free agents. I'm also going to have one writer in both of those episodes talking about the NFL draft. One is going to be today, John Vogel, and then Friday is going to be Allison Kohler, who is a beat writer for USA Today for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So with all of that in mind, I hope you guys enjoy the episode. The rest of it is just going to be the trailer picture of my podcast and then the audio, so you're not going to see anything of me, but I wanted to introduce it so that you know what's going on. So you're going to be seeing basically the same intro Wednesday and Friday. So if you're watching this Wednesday, we have a bunch of players, and we have John Vogel, who is the owner of NFL Draftrite. Then if you're seeing this on Friday, this is going to be a bunch of undrafted players, and Allison Kohler, who's the beat writer for the Pittsburgh Steelers for USA Today. Hope you guys enjoy. Let's get into it. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 1, draft special for Next Man Up with MJ. This is going to be the first time y'all are hearing from me. I was originally supposed to start this podcast on May 4th, but I got a little bit excited, got a little bit of carried away, and now we are going to be starting this podcast today on Wednesday, April 29th. We are starting off strong, heavy with an NFL draft special. You're going to be seeing two parts of this, one today, Wednesday, April 29th, and the other one on Friday, May 1st. These are both going to be NFL draft specials. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is we are going to be having interviews. Today, we're going to be having interviews with 4 undrafted free agents and one writer, John Vogel, for NFL Draftrite. He is the founder and owner and operator of NFL Draftrite. Fantastic guy, fantastic interview. So I'm not going to be talking very much today because we have a lot going on, a lot to get into. If you are new and you have not listened to me before, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoy and stick around for the coming days, weeks, and months. If you're coming over from examining the XFL, thank you very much. I had a good time there, and now it's time for bigger and better things. So without further ado, the first interview we have today is Madre Harper. Madre is a defensive back, undrafted, who signed with the Las Vegas Raiders. Without further ado, let's hop right into it. Okay, so I'm here today with Madre Harper. Madre, if you just want to, I'm pronouncing that correctly, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, Madre Harper. That's it.
Perfect. So if you just want to start off with telling everyone a little bit about yourself, where you went to school, where you've been, kind of just your football story.
So I'm originally from Arlington, Texas. The best state in America. Everybody knows that. And I started off at Oklahoma State, and then ended up transferring in my last 2 years at Southern Illinois. But I've been playing football my whole life since I was 5 years old. So it's always been a dream of mine, and always putting in the work. Like those kids are, watching cartoons on the weekends. I was, running hills and, training and footwork and everything like that. So it really feels good for everything to come full circle.
So for you, the thing I kind of want to focus on the most, you got undrafted free agent contract with the Las Vegas Raiders, correct?
Right. Yes, sir.
So for you, obviously you'd like to land on with the Raiders, but just to everyone listening, whether that be just the NFL in general, what do you want to say about yourself as a football player? What do you bring to the Raiders? What are you going to bring to the NFL in the coming years?
They're going to bring a straight dog. I feel like I should have been drafted. I feel like I'm one of the top players, and anybody look at my stats, they can see that. So, I'm just hungry, honestly. I just stopped working. I worked out every day at the draft, honestly. So, I'm hungry, and I'm ready to go, and I'm a straight dog. I'm going to go out there, and I got a point to prove.
So, for you, this is a question I'm going to ask pretty much everyone. How much do you think not having a pro day and the whole quarantine situation, not being able for scouts to do all of the work that they normally would do leading up to the draft, how much do you think that had an impact on you not getting drafted?
I definitely feel like it had some impact just because I was able to have a pro day, but the numbers I put up were really elite. But with the coronavirus, teams were not able to work me out privately, and I feel like that kind of hurt me because, when people go to the combine, the team's able to see them move, see them moving around, and not just get the information from the scouts. So I feel like teams were not able to see me, up close and personal and move around. So I feel like that didn't push me over some people.
So for you going to the Las Vegas Raiders, that is specifically a very young defense. I was looking earlier, and their oldest player on defense is Demarius Randall, also a defensive back, and he's only 28 years old. So how excited are you to go to a team where you can kind of grow with all of the other guys who are also very young and ready to go?
I mean, it feels really good because we go to a young team, we're all kind of learning together. We want to change the whole organization around. We want to get back to what they used to be and how they think about the Raiders. Me being an enforcer, being a heavy hitter. I want to be like that 1970s Raiders defense. They're out there clotheslining and smashing people. So it feels really good to be with a good bunch of groups of young guys and people that are hungry. I feel like it'll be a really great experience. And it's a really great organization to be a DB on the Raiders. I mean, that is special.
For sure. So one more thing I want to touch on. This is something I saw when I was kind of looking into you. I didn't know the specifics behind it, so I wanted to ask you yourself. I saw that you were dismissed from OSU. For people listening, I don't want to tell about it. I want you to kind of speak to what happened and how that experience shaped you as a player and a person moving forward.
Yeah, so to speak on that, first of all, I know people be putting out stuff like violated team rules. I didn't violate any rules. I didn't violate anything. I didn't break a rule. I've never been to jail, never sold a drug test. I don't even smoke or drink. So I know some articles be saying violation of team rules. That's not the case. It's just some internally, and it was just some inside stuff with Coach Gundy felt like it'd be best to part ways. But I didn't break any rules or do anything bad. So just to clarify that. And I mean, yeah, it hurt me. It hurt me because I didn't want to leave, Oklahoma State like that in that type of sense. And, going from there to a smaller school, I feel like kind of like clouded me a little bit. At the same time, I was blessed to be able to play football again. I was blessed to even be considered a draft prospect. I was blessed again to sign to a team. So to me, God said that was my path, and I accepted that. And I learned from that as a player and as a person how to react to certain different situations. And I'm going to make the most of what I got.
That's a fantastic attitude, and that's why I wanted to let you speak on that, because even myself, I do research before I talk to people. I try to get all the information I can,
right.
But
Coach Gundy never spoke on it. He never said why. So you can see right there, if it was really something bad, people would know. But it was something, to me, it wasn't a big deal. But I mean, hey, I don't run the show, and I need to learn from that.
Absolutely, and I think that's a fantastic attitude. The Las Vegas Raiders are definitely getting a fantastic player in you, Madre. Anything else that you want to say? Anything else you want to clear up, talk about before we get going?
I mean, I'm hungry. I'm ready to come. And I know people be trying to find tape for me, but I know it's not that much out there. I wish there was more. But SIU care about kind of like the angles are kind of. I know we probably did the research. It's kind of hard to see film. The angles are kind of bad and everything like that. But I just want people to know that if they did see my college tape, they're going to see a totally different person, totally different everything. And that person is going to be 10 times better when I step into camp.
Fantastic. Well, man, it was a pleasure to have you. Like I said, we'll be promoting you as much as we can, do everything we can to get your name out. You're already with the Raiders. I think you're going to stick well there, and I wish you the best in your career moving forward, man.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Madre, for joining us on the show. As I said in the interview, no matter where Madre goes, I'm going to be one of his biggest fans. He's a fantastic guy on and off the field. So if you have not already, go check out Madre. I'm excited to see him playing in Las Vegas for those Raiders because he's going to do big things there. So once again, thank you, Madre, for joining us on Next Man Up. Next man up we have today on the show is Desmond Sturdevant. Desmond is a defensive tackle out of Hampton University. He is undrafted. He deserves a shot, and I believe you will side with me on that after listening. So let's listen to our next man up, Desmond, and his interview I had this week. Okay, so I'm joined here today by Desmond Sturdivant. Desmond, you went to Hampton University, fantastic defensive player. If you want to start off just telling everybody a little bit about yourself and give us your football story.
Desmond Sturdivant, North Carolina. Started playing football at the age of probably about 7. And at first, ironically, my older brother, he started playing, but mostly like my mom put all her kids doing like soccer at the beginning, like when we was younger, and I tell people all the time that soccer wasn't for me because we had played soccer in the gym, and when we were playing, the kid took the ball away from me and I tackled him. And then my brother told my mom that I could not play soccer and I need to be playing football. So ever since then, it was destined to play football. And then after that, kind of just grew up south side of Greensboro, just playing football at Watersville Recreation. Then went on to Harrison Middle School, then went on to Ben L. Smith, where I was a 3-year starter. I played all 4 years on varsity. And I was a 3-year team captain, all-time sack leader at Ben L. Smith too. But just after playing over at Smith, playing D-line and O-line, playing both ways, I grew up. I began to get interest from colleges and everything. And ultimately, I chose Hampton University because of the family environment, the people, and it was a right amount of distance for me to get away from home and be able to mature and grow as a man on my own and not be able to run back home every other weekend. So that was the reason I chose Hampton. Went to Hampton and I redshirted my freshman year, started my redshirt freshman year. And after that, I pretty much been starting for the past 3 or 4 years. And I've been playing big time football. I was a part of SAC. I was the president of SAC. And then on top of that, I was just, a stalwart in the community as far as like Hampton, just going to schools, reading to kids and everything. So really, my biggest thing was playing under Connell Maynard and with Robert Cronin. I always wanted to give back. And Coach Marcus Dixon and Coach Anthony Carter, Andrew Carter, not Anthony Carter, I apologize. They installed me servant leadership. So I have to give back in order to lead first. So that's my story as far as everything. Just I love football and I just wanted to give back to the community what community gave me.
For sure. So I saw in a different interview you did for I believe it was a newspaper. I saw you talking about SAC. So for those listening who have not heard that interview, can you tell them what SAC is and why that's so important to you?
Okay, SAC is the Student Athletic Advisory Committee. Basically, coming into colleges, a lot of the student athletes do not know the rules and their rights as student athletes. So our job is to be the voice for student athletes. So if they have certain questions that they want to ask, but they're scared to ask their coach because it may not be a question that a coach wants to hear, they go to their SAC leaders, and the SAC leaders go talk to me being president, I would go talk to the AD, or we would talk to our supervisor or our advisor of our respective sport. So SAC is really just it's an organization, not even an organization, a committee of student athletes, leaders in the community to give student athletes a voice and to ensure that they know their rights and know the rule changes and everything. So that's pretty much what SAC is.
Fantastic. So, I mean, from hearing that, from reading about you, I can speak very highly of your character on the football field. For teams who are looking at you, looking at your tape, looking at your numbers, what should people know about Desmond as a football player?
High motor guy, high energy guy, give you everything that you get everything that you want in the defensive lineman. Very, very talented as far as stopping the run. My coach told me that one day we was in the meeting, he told me I could stop the run in my sleep. It was just the rushing the pass or something that I need to fix things on. And that was one thing that I took upon myself to actually try to fix this past season. I had a career high 4.5 sacks from the defensive tackle position. So I think that's pretty impressive, playing D tackle and mainly playing on first and second down. And just really just being a leader on and off the field. Don't have to worry about no off the field issues with me and everything. Just being a leader and being a big time player for you.
So I want to touch on that real quick before we run out of time. I also saw that you graduated with a bachelor's degree in criminology, but you are also pursuing your master's in sports administration, correct?
Yes, sir.
So for you, I mean, obviously your end goal is to play in the NFL, but how important is it for you to just be a well-rounded person and kind of have all of your bases covered?
It's very important. My mother, my father, and uncle older brother, they all, once the recruiting process started, they always told me, football be the way that you get a free education. At the end of the day, football can, the football can stop. Like as we see with this pandemic with COVID-19, it stopped all sports. But at the end of the day, there's still people out there that has to work. So my family, they installed me that education is important. So at the end of the day, that was one of the big goals for me, just going to a school that had that was pretty prestigious when it came to education, and then on top of that, just being able to get my degree. That was actually a big goal. If you talk to one of my former advisors, Ms. Winston, she'll tell you that I was always in our office trying to make sure that I graduate within 4 years. So that was just a big goal, being able to graduate on time, and then after that, going to grad school. And I know a lot of people will be like, "Oh, well, you majored in criminology while you majored in sports administration." I came to terms with the fact that sports is going to be in me. I love sports. I love football. I love basketball. Like, I love sports. So I couldn't see myself doing something that wasn't involved in sports. So that's the main reason that I pursued the sports administration path, just because sports is in my blood.
Absolutely. And whether it be on the football field as a coach, or whether it be somewhere in criminology, whoever is able to employ you, I'm sure will not be disappointed, Desmond.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Anything else? This is your opportunity to promote yourself. Anything else that people listening should know about you before we take off?
Just if one team fight, I promise they won't regret it. I've seen a lot of stories of undrafted guys that's making big time plays in the league, and I can be one of those guys. I know right now that we're as a country, we're going through a pandemic that we've never seen before. So I would also like to thank the frontline workers for what they're doing as far as COVID-19, because I know they're putting their lives on the line every day. But as far as me, myself, you won't get a better guy on and off the field, because you won't have to worry about me off the field, and you won't have to worry about my work ethic as well.
Amazing stuff, Desmond. Well, in your future endeavors, I wish you the best of luck. I'll be checking up on you, seeing where you go, where you end up, and I'll be a fan no matter where you go, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Again, thank you, Desmond, for joining us on Next Man Up. Fantastic guy on and off the field as well. He is truly a leader, and whatever NFL team decides to scoop him up, they will get a leader in the locker room, they will get a leader on the field, and they will get a truly fantastic guy. So best of luck to Desmond. I hope he lands somewhere soon, and I hope you all go say hi to Desmond, tell him I sent you, wish him luck, and give him the support and the love that he deserves, and the support and the love that he needs to make it onto the NFL roster. Our next man up in this show is going to be Stanley Dye Jr. Stanley is a defensive back. He is a star. He has all of the tangibles. He has all of the intangibles. Stanley has the mindset that it takes to make it in the NFL. And to prove that, let's listen to my little chat with Stanley this week and see what he has to say. So I'm joined here by Stanley Dye. Stanley, if you first want to start off just introducing yourself, telling everybody kind of your football story and how you got to where you are today.
Well, my name is Stanley Dye from Jacksonville, Florida. I played high school ball at Ridgeview High School down in Orange Park. After that, I had a full ride scholarship to the University of Texas, San Antonio, or UTSA for short, the Road Runners. I was recruited there by Larry Coker and Coach Pop and the rest of the staff. And then, I spent a few years up there, and we ended up getting a head coach. So I played under Frank Wilson for some time. And then my final season, I ended up transferring to Philadelphia State, where I finished up.
So the first question I have for you is, what prompted that transfer for the last season? Because you played the majority of your career at Texas San Antonio, and then you transferred last year, like you said. So what prompted you to move colleges your last season?
So I had a pretty bad injury the year before. I had to leave. I ended up tearing my hamstring. And then, I tried to come back, and it was way too soon. I ended up hurting it some more. So I ended up having to miss my whole season. And it just really wasn't cooperating with me. Throughout the spring, I was trying to rehab it. but every time I would try to like go full speed, it just kind of I retweak it. It was kind of like that same story throughout the whole spring. It just I couldn't get it right. So at the end of spring ball, talked to the head coaches and everything. Came to like an agreement that it was best that I move on to a different school. So I spent up the summer trying to find different schools to go to, rehabbing, trying to do everything I possibly could to get ready for the season. And if I'm being honest, I was in a pretty bad situation because the original school I was supposed to go to, there's some things that went on with my classes. Even though I already graduated, the rules for grad school is kind of different. So you had to pass a certain amount of classes, and pretty much when I found out that I was transferring, I was kind of just focused on that and not necessarily my schoolwork per se. So I had to go through this whole process trying to get into this other school, and it turns out I couldn't get it because everything was so messed up. So then I ended up going to Valdosta State. I think I got there. I took my bid to Valdosta State. I went up there like maybe 2 or 3 days before camp started. And then, I had to go up there and earn my scholarship, really. And then, it ended up working out pretty well for me on start of the season. We won conference, made the playoffs, so, it worked out pretty well.
Absolutely. So after all of that, having to transfer, injury problems, dealing with classes, grad school, all of that, now you can focus on football. What for you makes you different than another defensive back? What do you bring to the table that NFL teams need to notice?
I feel like I bring a lot. I feel like I'm a 4-3 guy. I ran track in high school in 10, 5, and 100, 21 in the 200. I can run with anybody. I played against top competition. I played against Nikhil Harry, who went first round like 2 years ago to the Patriots. I played against Baylor, big time schools, and held my own. I feel like I have decent size, strength, everything I need, and I played under quite a few systems, so I was able to really adjust. I want to say just about every other year, I ended up playing for like a different position coach. So like adversity and then being able to like learn on the fly, that's not really an issue to me, because I actually take the time to learn and kind of like get what the other guy wants me to do, and do it how they want me to. I play under Pete Golden, who's the defensive coordinator at Alabama right now. My first coach, Coach Pop, he's at Georgia Tech right now. So I played under guys that coach at high levels. So if they can see my ability, give me a chance. I know for a fact that I can compete with anyone. I played free safety. I played in the nickel. I played in the dime. I played outside. I played on all special teams. Like anywhere you need me to play on defense, I can play. It wouldn't be anything new to me. I feel like I'm very coachable, and I'm a dependable guy. Like you're never gonna have to worry about anything off the field with me. I never had any issues off the field. I was never a guy that always late to meetings or anything. I'm always on time. One of the first ones there. Always did what I need to do, and I'm always take care of my business. And especially with all the stuff that I've been through throughout my whole career and leading up to this point, there's many times where I really could have quit. And I feel like a lot of guys in that situation probably would have, but I just with God and my family and friends, everything, I just kept going. I never let anything get me down, no matter how bad the situation looked. I always found a way. And going forward, I'm always gonna find a way and get the job done, no matter what it takes.
Fantastic. So with all of that in mind, all of the adversity that you've already faced, now being in quarantine with a lot of the country shut down, how are you dealing with not being able to train and stay in physical shape the way you normally would? And how much do you think the lack of pro days and kind of losing more than a month for scouts, how much do you think that impacted you and other guys in their quest to get drafted?
Personally, I feel like if I had a pro day, I would have been signed already. I would have put up, I jumped so I had like a virtual pro day. I did 38 first, 10, 11 and a half broad jump. 225, 10 plus times. I ran a 6'6", 6'5", 3-cone. I ran a fast 40. You know, like I put up numbers, and I know in my drills I would have looked smooth, and you know that would have given me a chance to get in front of scouts. Like, okay, oh, this guy did this. Okay, let me check out his film. Okay, let's bring him in for a workout. Let's check him out. So I really feel like me and for a lot of guys, especially for small school guys, you know, if we would have had a pro day, you would have seen a lot more guys get picked up from smaller schools and sign deals by now. So I feel like that really hurt a lot, especially, you know, when you that moment, like being drafted, that's like something you dream of, like you work towards your whole life. And with the virus coming about and, you know, taking away pro days, so a lot of guys couldn't get looked, guys couldn't go for, you know, private workouts, all that type of thing. It really put a hold on things, and it's kind of hard to stay motivated because everything's pretty much taken away from you in a split second, and you couldn't do anything about it. So, you know, it was pretty hard. I was training with this guy here in Jacksonville, you know, throughout the whole process, and obviously now that everything kind of shut down, I was just doing a lot of stuff at home. Just going out to the field, running on my own. I actually got like some water jugs to, you know, lift with, a car battery. You know, I just kind of find a way. You know, it's not much, but still trying to stay active. I tried to go buy some weights from the store, but you know, they're all sold out. I couldn't do that. So I mean, I feel like as long as you're doing something, you know, it can only benefit you.
For sure.
And I feel like you just always gotta be ready. You never know when you'll get a phone call. And I like the saying, just say if you stay ready, you never have to get ready. So, you know, every day, you know, gotta constantly work because, you know, I might get a call tomorrow. I might get a call, you know, after the interview, and you never know what can happen. So you definitely always have to be ready for anything.
Yes, you're 100% correct on that. I love that mentality. Well, Stanley, on and off the field, you've definitely got it together. And in my opinion, albeit not a big one, but in my opinion, you definitely are somebody that an NFL team should take a chance on. And I look forward to you getting signed sometime soon in the future. I'll be watching out for that. And no matter what happens, you've always got a fan here.
I appreciate you. I appreciate your time.
As always, thank you, Stanley, for taking a little bit of time out of your busy evening as a budding draft prospect and a budding NFL prospect to come join us on Next Man Up. It was a pleasure to have him. It was a pleasure to review his game tape, review his stats, review his numbers. He's a fantastic guy, fantastic talent, and I look forward to seeing what he will do in the NFL when he finally lands on a roster. And last but not least, our final Next Man Up of this episode is going to be Jeron Caraway. Jeron is a linebacker out of Bethany College. As I've said with every guy we've had on the show today, he has what it takes on and off the field to make it on an NFL roster and make an impact. So without further ado, let's see what Jeron had to say about what he will bring to the NFL and how he can impact any NFL team that decides to take a chance on him. So I'm joined today, everybody, by Jeron Caraway. Jeron, if you just want to start off with telling everybody a little bit about yourself, who you are, a little bit about your football story.
Well, I'm Jeron Caraway. Get out of Bethany College. Transferred from, well, first off, I'm from Topeka, Kansas. Graduated in 2015 from Topeka High. Went to Fort Hays, led up Fort Hays State for about 3 years and finished my journey off at Bethany College as a linebacker. As far as my story, this freshman year I played at every level of defense. That was my last year at Fort Hays being a defensive end. And I ended up finishing my last year at Bethany as a will linebacker. I mean, that's just the short version. It can get pretty long, but I can keep that short. But yeah.
Fantastic. So the first question I have for you is, I mean, to me, for a guy like you who's trying to prove himself, this is all about trying to promote yourself. So if you were sitting down with an NFL team right now, whether that be a head coach, scout, anybody involved in that process, what would be your pitch to them? What do you bring to a football team?
I would say I bring experience to the table. I think experience would be my biggest trump card. You can call me a jack of all trades. Since 2015, I've played at every level of defense. You know, I was a safety for 2 years. I played safety and strong safety for 2 years. I was a linebacker. I played that for a semester, and then I eventually went down to defensive end. I was a lightweight defensive end for a while, and you know, eventually ended up going back to linebacker, where I had the most success at. But one thing about that is, I would say I've been able to pretty much take all the experiences I've learned from each position and been able to combine those into, you know, what resulted in my last year as of my play. Not just that, but as far as with knowledge, I would say I know the jobs of everybody. I know everybody's job, not just on the field, but I know what they're thinking. I know what we're supposed to be thinking per se. I think it also brings better awareness to the field as well. But yeah, my experience at every level of defense is that's my trump card. I don't think there aren't too many. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of linebacker defensive end hybrids that can stick their hand in the ground and rush. But I don't think you would have too many that can not just play linebacker, but honestly doesn't mind getting out the cover. Doesn't mind getting out the cover a slot, you know, pressing for the first 20 yards. Like, I don't have a problem doing that. I don't have a problem playing man defense. You know, I don't have an issue being on an island. I don't have an issue putting my hand in the ground. You know, I did that for a year and a half. It's not only that, but now it's almost natural. Like, I'm not just going to be a guy that rushes, you know, just to rush. I'm a guy that's going to rush with purpose, you know, uses great technique, you know, with impeccable hands. That's what I think. And that's actually one thing that you see on the first play of my highlight tape. My hand isn't in the ground, but you see my hand work. You see the speed and the feet work. And so, you know, I just think film speaks for itself. And I would say so is my history.
That's fantastic. I mean, that's definitely, you are a versatile player. I've seen that. That's one of the things that had me interested in you and your tape, was how versatile you are. And you are able to do a lot of things, which I think will sell well to NFL teams. So with that in mind, my next question for you is, obviously with all the quarantine going on, people not able to have pro days, things like that, how much do you think that not getting that last month of pro days, meetings with teams, things like that, how much do you think that hurt your draft stock and hurt a lot of other guys' draft stock?
I definitely think it did hurt quite a bit. I had scheduled CFL workouts that I was supposed to attend, and I also had a few scheduled combines that I was supposed to attend this month, which ended up getting moved to May, which now ended up getting moved to June. Whereas for those CFL workouts, they all got canceled in the middle of March, I believe. And so I had about 3 of them scheduled. One of them with the Winnipeg Bombers, another with Calgary. I think the Calgary, I forget. Yeah, but with Calgary and another with the BC Lions. And, you know, not being able to go to those really hurt. I do still have 2 more combines. One with called the Athlete, if I'm saying that right. They're having a combine out of, I think, Calgary, Alberta. And so I'm going to be able to go to that. And then I also have 2 more combines. One with the Calgary, I forget. Yeah, but with Calgary and another with the BC Lions. And, you know, not being able to go to those really hurt. Missouri Western out in Kansas City, and another one. I think it's NFL Elite Pro Days. I'm not too sure. I might have butchered the name a little bit, but they're pretty persistent on making sure that this combine gets those small schoolers out. So I definitely appreciate them a lot. I've stayed in close contact with those guys just to make sure that we're still on for that pro day, because not being able to go to those things definitely hurt my draft stock a lot.
So with that in mind, and I mean, you never know when a call is going to come, whether that be from the NFL, the CFL, any other league. So while in quarantine, how are you doing your best to stay in football shape, and what does that kind of look like for you on a day-to-day basis?
Well, me doing my best to stay in football shape. I've been doing a lot more band work. As far as band work, explosion, it's been tough to find a weight room out here, but I definitely do what I can, with the at-home weights I have. As far as staying in football shape, I run a ton of hills every single day, especially like I was a lot of speed and explosion work, uphill running. Basically, to stay fast, stay in shape, stay loose. A lot of DB work. I try to train. One thing my brother told me, who formerly played for Wyoming, and he did the chase as well. He always told me, like, as a linebacker, for a decently sized linebacker, he told me I should always train as a DB, because they always like guys who can move like that. And so that's just one thing that I've just, consistently done. I work out with other DBs that I have access to. I talked to a friend of mine, Brian Peavy, who was a stud at Iowa State, I think about 2 years ago. And I often get tips from him, workouts from him. Other than that, I just recently learned my wife was pregnant, and so I've definitely upped the workload as far as making sure that we're stable financially. Because I'm still, even though we're in quarantine, I'm still able to work. I work at a children's hospital, and when I'm not working those 12 to 16-hour days, I'm definitely on the field as much as possible. So yeah.
Wow. Well, John, on behalf of all of America, I'd like to thank you for working in a hospital. That's fantastic. And my sister is a nurse, so I know firsthand how hard, especially right now, that is. So thank you for doing that. You are definitely one of the most important people in the country right now. And that is amazing that you are doing that with a newly pregnant wife and also training for football. So props to you. If a team doesn't see that kind of time management and, want that guy, I don't know what they're looking at, man.
Wow, that definitely means a lot. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, Jeron, we're almost out of time, so last chance for you to just pitch yourself to all the football teams across the country, all the professional football teams. Last chance to say anything that you haven't had the chance to say yet.
I would say, first off, I definitely appreciate the looks, the opportunities, honestly, just anything, for even looking my way. And if you do choose to recruit me, I would say you're getting a guy that's, first, I feel like I'm on my first set of legs. I feel fresh. I feel great. 5 years of college ball, and I feel like I'm just starting. I got a lot more in me. I got a lot more time in me. And I'm ready. I'm staying ready. I'm sorry, I don't really have too much of a pitch, just other than, you see the sacrifices I'm making for this game. I spent months away from my wife. We're newlyweds. Just spending, you just get married, and the first thing you do is spend months away to go train for your dream, and she's supporting you. It's just, I understand the sacrifices that will have to be made, and not only am I willing, but I got to support my wife who's willing to sacrifice for me to be able to achieve this dream, you know, and it's just, you know, I understand the sacrifices that have to be made, and I'm willing to make those sacrifices.
That's fantastic, man. I mean, with everything that I've heard, I've only known you for a little bit, but from what I've seen of the tape and what I've heard of your character, you are definitely somebody that an NFL team would want on the field. So no matter where you go, where you end up, what you do, you definitely have a fan here in me, and I wish you the best of luck in everything you do. And most importantly, I hope you and your wife and your soon-to-be child stay safe right now, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, MJ.
As always, thank you, Jeron, for joining us on Next Man Up with MJ. It was a pleasure to have you. Best of luck to Jeron, his family, and to Jeron in the NFL. He will do big things. I am certain of that. So, like I always say, go tell Jeron that he is a fantastic player. Go give him some love. Go shout him out. Go get his tape spreading. He deserves it. You can find Jeron on Twitter at Sonte Diego. That's SONTE Diego. And go ahead, give him a follow. Give him a shout out. Tell him I sent you, because he deserves all the love and the support he can get on his way to the NFL. So thank you, Jeron, and best of luck to you. And before we wrap up today, we are going to be joined by John Vogel, who is the owner, founder, and operator of NFL Draftrite. Fantastic website for all of your draft news, highlights, and analysis before and after the NFL draft. John knows his stuff. We talked about the Packers taking Jordan Love. We talked about the Eagles taking Jalen Hurts, and much, much more. So let's listen to what John had to say and his hot takes about the NFL draft. So I'm joined here today by John Vogel. John, if you just want to first off introduce yourself to everyone, tell us who you are, what you do, and a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I'm John Vogel. I'm the founder, head of Draftrite, NFLDraftrite.com. Basically, I cover the NFL draft. I've been doing it now for probably about 3 years. This is my second full year of, full-on scouting. And just my general idea is assessing talent from a standpoint that you don't normally see in the media, something that's a little bit more aligned with what the NFL is thinking.
Okay, so what is, if you can expand on that a little bit, what is different about how you go about evaluating talent compared to the media?
Okay, so the media will generally get hyped with things, like statistics.
Right.
That's one of the biggest things to get hyped with. If you put up good stats, if you have big games and stuff, which is great, we want to see that. But there's more fine-tuned things to it than stats. And then a lot of these, people that were hyped. I'm going to use a great example here. Donovan Peoples-Jones was hyped across the media as a second-round pick, super athletic and everything. But the problem was, if you watch his game film and his tape, you're going to see that he's not a great route runner, and he struggles to catch the ball sometimes. He has these horrific drops.
Yeah.
And that's why they pulled him off the punt team. So, there's little things like that we're looking for, like kind of the way that an NFL team more would, rather than getting caught up in, all the stats and the athleticism and the measurables and so on and so forth, and just focusing on the truth.
Yeah. So I know I've talked to some players and some scouts, and they were quite, I don't want to say annoyed, but it was unfortunate for them that the pandemic hit and all of that, so that they didn't have the pro day. A lot of guys didn't have pro days. They didn't have the type of scouting in that last month that they normally would have going up to a draft. So for you, how did that change the way that you were kind of evaluating guys in your writing process and on your website and all of that?
Well, so what that basically did was, we got to the Senior Bowl this year. We didn't get to the Combine, but we got to the Senior Bowl, we got to the Shrine Bowl, so we got to a lot of the events the scouts got to as well. And we were able to kind of assess, we had a lot of the same info that they had. And so I guess what was a little bit different this year is there were no pro days outside of the first few days of March where they were still going. And basically, my big board came together much faster. Because normally you're going to these pro days and you're checking things out. And you're kind of like, making sure that it all aligns with what you've seen so far, through the tape and through the Combine and the all-star games that they were at them and stuff. And so simplified the process to an extent and, cut a lot of this extra work that you're doing in the last month, pounding into these, smaller school guys that you normally do that show up for these pro days.
So overall, what kind of surprised you about the NFL draft? Whether that be a pick, a team, something of that nature. What kind of surprised you? What jumped out at you over the 3-day span?
Well, there were a lot of things that jumped out. I think one of the things that was the most surprising was the run on tackles and wide receivers early on. I think we were kind of expecting that to happen to an extent, but not as much as it happened. Because we were thinking there were going to be 5, maybe 6 guys at wide receiver that came off the board in the first round. And, we figured there would be a good number in the second and third, but it was crazy with the number of them that actually did. Same thing with the offensive tackles. The first 18 picks, I believe, there were, 5 or 6 guys that came off the board right there.
Yeah, it was crazy.
We're not used to seeing that kind of stuff in the draft. And I think that was also surprising, was just the amount of attention that was put onto offensive tackles and wide receivers in general. And then, you have your usual run of quarterbacks, and that just pushed all these great defenders down the board.
Yeah, and what I noticed with all the offensive tackles, especially going early, was it was a lot of teams that have younger quarterbacks that have either lost recently, like in the case of the Browns, they lost Joe Thomas in the last couple of years, and they don't have established tackles after that. So they're getting tackles to protect Baker Mayfield, or it's the Giants picking a tackle at 4, protecting Daniel Jones. So do you think that was a big factor in it, with all of the teams who have younger quarterbacks that were prioritizing protection in that nature?
Absolutely. And, it's not even just them, because, if you look at the Titans went and got somebody that they think can play right tackle for them, so, and replace Jack Conklin, who went to the Browns. So we're getting into this point where the league has really become all about, you have to have a good quarterback. You have to have good pass rushers. And those are the 2 key components. And to negate good pass rushers, you need to have good tackles. So it kind of does make sense looking back in hindsight, because they do say it is 2020. But the fact that these offensive tackles are prioritized to these teams, because that's how you, in theory, are going to negate a pass rush on your quarterback and kind of let him settle into games.
Yeah. So next, I want to touch on some of the controversial picks a little bit. I myself am a Packers fan, and so with the Packers taking Jordan Love at 26, trading up to get Jordan Love, I've heard rumblings from people that they wanted to trade up even further than that to just make sure that they got Jordan Love. I don't know who they were scared was going to take him, but they wanted to trade up to 22, I believe, with Minnesota. They were discussing that even way higher than 26. So first off, let's start with that one. We'll get to some other picks later. But what do you think of that Packers pick?
I understand the theory of it, and this is something that I kind of been saying a little bit. I don't think I've written an article or anything on it because there wasn't any substantial evidence. It's more of a gut feeling where the Packers feel like they don't have very much longer with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. And I think this pick epitomized that. Now, there had been rumblings, there had been rumors that, Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur weren't getting along as well as people thought they were. And I think this pick might kind of show that a little bit more and make that a little bit clearer. But if he pans out, Jordan Love is going to be a really good quarterback in the NFL. He's definitely not ready now. He's definitely very raw in the sense that he has a lot of technique and he needs to refine a lot of his mechanics. Just, being more consistent with throwing the football. So that all being said, it's a fine developmental pick. But yeah, you needed other things, other positions, much more than you needed a developmental quarterback right now. You were a game away from the Super Bowl last year, and you're not getting your veteran quarterback, any help. It was a little bit strange.
Yeah, something that I saw, which was very interesting. So Packers get Jordan Love first round, A.J. Dillon second round. I'm not going to try to pronounce the tight end in the third round. I always mess up his last name. But what? Yes, thank you.
I like him a lot.
Yes, I do too. But what I was seeing is basically what I was seeing is Packers fans and writers and draft analysts, what they were saying is that draft would have been fantastic for the Packers if you move Love, Dillon, and DeGuara back a full round. So if you get them in 2, 3, 4, and then you get a star wide receiver first round, or even, I to be perfectly honest, I would have been fine with an offensive tackle in the first round, something like that, because we lost Brian Bulaga. But drafting Jordan Love in the first round, I think just kind of upset a lot of people. But where I'm going with this is the Packers seem to be going to a much more run-oriented offense. Do you think that's something that in general the league is going to start moving to, or is that just a weird Matt LaFleur thing?
That's a really good question. No, I don't think it's anything the league is moving toward, because if anything, the league's moving toward, everybody running base 13 personnel sets, one running back, 3 receivers. And this what is coming to fruition, though, is this multiple running back by committee approach. It's worked really well across the league. I mean, look at the past few Super Bowl winners. The New England Patriots have had like 4 or 5 running backs on their roster.
Right.
The Chiefs went through this year with 3, 4 guys that contributed. The Eagles did a couple years ago, went through 4 or 5 running backs that year. So running backs by committee is kind of something that the league is pushing toward. Now this run heavy thing, I mean, if you look at what LaFleur did with the Titans when he was the offensive coordinator there, I live in Tennessee. Tennessee did not like him that much. We were shocked actually when he became the first. He was the first guy off to be hired as a head coach. They do have a run first. He does have a run first mentality. He likes to establish that run, and that's just something that he hadn't been able to do very well last year without a real between the tackles runner. And that's what A.J. Dillon essentially is that in between the tackles first, second down running back. What is his deeper Aaron Jones and I can't think of his name right now.
Jamal Williams.
Yeah, Jim Williams. I don't know what that does for them, but I think that it's not something that you're going to see the rest of the league moving towards. It was a little odd to take your H back in the 3rd round. Yeah,
the thing I do agree. Basically, what Matt LaFleur said on conference calls is that they took A.J. Dillon because there wasn't a wide receiver that they really valued at that pick. So basically, there were wide receivers they could have taken, obviously, throughout the entire draft because there were 37 wide receivers taken. So they had plenty of time to draft a wide receiver. But I do agree with taking a running back because Aaron Jones had arguably the second best running back season last year behind Christian McCaffrey. And after the season, his contract is expiring, and the Packers don't really pay guys big money, especially in-house, other than really Aaron Rodgers. So I would not be surprised to see Aaron Jones leave. I'm not mad with that pick, but again, I would have liked it to be pushed back a little bit. So the last thing I would like to touch on is the Eagles taking Jalen Hurts in the 2nd round. I'm confused. Did you see that coming? Did anyone see that coming?
No, nobody that I knew saw that coming. And I've been one of, through this draft process, I've been one of Jalen's, believers.
Yeah.
I do think that he's going to be a good quarterback on the next level. I think he's shown that throughout his career. And, being only 21 years old, he's got his best football ahead of him, good 3-4 years ahead of him. So, no, I didn't see it coming. But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. You've got a quarterback that you're paying a lot of money right now in Philadelphia, Carson Wentz. And he just played his first 16-game season and didn't finish the wild card game. And so with that, you want to have a guy that's capable and always ready to come into the game and be ready to play. And if you look at Jalen and throughout his career, that's the epitome of him, is ready to come in at a moment's notice. From his very first game in college, to the SEC championship game, that's what he's done. So I think they're going to use him as a package deal. It does make sense because you do need a good quarterback behind Carson. That was really the reason that they lost to the Seahawks, on top of, just mountains of injuries. But you're looking to make your team deeper, and it makes sense from that aspect.
What do you think of the Taysom Hill comparisons, not just in terms of skill, but also in terms of how the Eagles are going to use Jalen Hurts?
Well, I think it's a really good way of putting this. I don't think it's a great comparison for Jalen, because Jalen is a good bit of a better passer already than Taysom is, especially when Taysom was coming out. Taysom went undrafted out of BYU for a reason. Now, I can see the Eagles using him with that skill set, and I think it would be very beneficial for them, and I think it would work. But straight up trying to compare him to Taysom Hill, I don't think is very accurate at all, in the sense that Jalen has a much higher upside, a much higher ceiling, and putting that kind of a comparison to him almost makes it sound like you're putting a cap on what he can be.
Yeah, I agree. One quick note before I let you go, John. The Saints recently gave Taysom Hill, I think it was a $16 million extension for after.
Yeah, he's making $10 million this year.
Why is he really that? If they they signed Jameis Winston, or they're gonna do that. So if they're gonna go get Jameis Winston, they don't see Taysom Hill as their backup quarterback, clearly, or what's going on there?
I'm just as confused as everybody else is on that, to be honest. I guess they felt like that they needed to pay them more than Mitchell. He's done well for them, in the sense that he can play any position that you really plug him into. I think if they put him in linebacker, he'd probably be able to play it too.
Probably.
But you've got a guy that he's been effective in the limited attempts that he's thrown, and passes that he's made. He's a good runner. He's a good receiver. They use him on special teams. I guess they figured give him his one-time contract kind of deal, let him make some money, and let him get out,
True.
I don't know if they will go, if this Jameis Winston signing is going to go through, because it was supposed to have gone through, yesterday?
Yeah.
Or the day before, and it still hasn't. So I don't know what's going on with that. I don't have any Saints connections to hook you up and be like, hey, I know exactly how you can find out. But
right. Yeah, well,
I think I'm just as lost as everyone else is on that.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I really do hope that Jameis Winston is able to land there for a year, learn from Drew Brees, kind of, get his feet wet again in the NFL in a much less pressurized situation, learn from Drew Brees and Sean Payton. And then hypothetically, if Drew Brees were to retire, he could take over in New Orleans, or after 1 year, he can spread his wings and fly. Either way, I do think that would be a good fit. I just don't see it making sense in connection with paying Taysom Hill $16 million. So,
I agree with that.
Yeah. So I think that's all of the time and questions I have for you today, John. Thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your afternoon to come join us on the show. It was a pleasure to have you, and come this time next year, I will definitely be hitting you up again for some more draft talk.
Of course. Thank you.
Absolutely. Talk to you later, John. Thank you, John, for joining us as our final Next Man Up for today's episode. It was a pleasure and a joy to have you. John knows his stuff, and anytime that we need draft analysis on any draft prospects around the country, John will definitely be one of our top guys to call. So thank you, John, and we look forward to having you back in the future. Well, everybody, that was our first and inaugural episode of Next Man Up. It came a little bit earlier than I had expected, but it was no less a pleasure to produce this episode, and hopefully everybody listening enjoyed it. I am going to have another episode out Friday, May 1st, our part 2 of the NFL Draft Special, and then starting May 4th, we will be on our regular schedule, which is going to be one episode Monday and Friday until I run out of content and have to go back to only Mondays, which hopefully will never happen for your sake and for mine. So with all of that in mind, thank you all for listening, and I will catch you back on Friday for part 2 of the NFL Draft Special of Next Man Up with MJ Hurley. Hope you all have a good day.